Hi, this is Dennis, and I'm going to do a deep dive into my divorce from the gay community. Just so you know, it didn't happen all at once. It kind of was a series of things that happened along the way, and I eventually did have a little bit of a blowout online with a discussion on, I think Facebook it was or whatever, where I made my case, and that was it. And I left. So I'll just tell you real quick, and by the way, this is going to do me no favors. I can see a lot of people getting angry with this, but I'm going to tell the truth of what I experienced and what I went through and why I did what I did. So, just a quick, I graduated high school in 82, upper class, middle class, whatever, and outside of Boston, pretty repressed guy. But in the mid 80s, late 80s, I started to come out. I won't go through all that either. And one of the big pivots for me was I had a roommate who was gay, and he kind of introduced me to the community. I say that because I don't consider it really a community in the real sense. But anyway, he introduced me to this, and so keep in mind, I'm this guy who doesn't have a whole lot of experience. I did have a relationship, and it was anyway. I will say that my initial entrance into it, and he was nice to me. He brought me in. He showed me his friends, and he showed me the clubs, and he brought me to the tea dance, and showed me the right gym to belong to, and all that stuff. So there is an explosion to your senses here. They're very good at this, at the visuals and the sense of touch and the smells, and everything is just so amazing when you're coming from just, normal day-to-day life and you see these places and these things and these people. I will also say right off the bat, I did not fit in to the high cliquey people. Right off, I will tell you the values that these people have: youth, beauty, and money, and prestige of some sort is also really important. And I'm going to also say that if you are 23 gay watching this, that's kind of an amazing thing, because after the age of 35, you're in irrelevance to the gay community. You're sort of on the outside. You're not really welcome into the clubs anymore, and you're just sort of on the fringe. But so not a good reason not to be there. But so I went through this for years, and I will also say that my drinking began to take off during this period. I was drinking more and more, and it seemed to go really well with what I was experiencing. It became a real problem, and that's another channel and another bunch of discussions that I have. But I will say that the amount of drug and alcohol use among the gay community is far, far greater than the non-gay community. The amount of people that seek therapy is much, much higher. The depression rates are much, much higher. I don't know about suicide rates. I really don't. But I will say that they blame straight society for all this, and it's not. That's not it. It's because within this so-called community, it's a brutal place. They demand conformity. There is impossible standards that you're living by, and so many people they feel less than because they cannot reach that point where the elite gay people are, and there's just so few of them, and truly it's a big fake bunch of nonsense. But anyway, so I did begin to feel like there was something inside me that was hungry. Not hungry for food, actually hungry for something. I didn't know what it was. I wasn't getting something. So I just figured I needed more of whatever I was doing, right? So you just get more of the clubs, more of the people, more of the stuff, and more of the drink. And it actually left me worse. I felt unhappy, I felt unfulfilled, and I started to question things. As a quick background, I grew up in, I had a very inquisitive mind and I really enjoyed philosophy. And a couple of my favorite people were Ralph Waldo Emerson and Henry David Thoreau, who were friends. Thoreau was, he was mentored by Emerson. But anyway, the reason why I say this is because it was something in the background, something that said to me, you know, it's a completely opposite way of living. The Thoreau way versus this way. So I knew those things. And I also had some, you know, spiritual background in my, you know, that I ignored, but it was there, you know, it was there. And so I started to push away a little bit, and I started to question things a little bit. And I also noticed the demand on the conformity. You had to believe in these things. You had to have the same politics. You had to have the same, like, and you had to keep up with it too. You had to keep up with whoever was, you know, up in the right now, in the here. And I wasn't good at that. I really wasn't good at that. I kind of listened to classical music, and I kind of liked the old things and stuff like that. And so I was unfulfilled, and I had a crisis, and it involved my drinking. I had to separate from everything for a while. I had to find sobriety. And when I found sobriety, I kind of started questioning everything. I had to look at my behaviors. I had to understand why I was behaving the way I was. And I had to really figure out a better path. The path that I chose was back to not so much of an emphasis on the material. With gay society, money is super important. If you are old, you have no money, and you aren't attractive, you're nothing. You're nothing. Who you are doesn't matter. Those things matter. So, you know, I actually, when I became sober, I kind of got my act together. I started going somewhat still to, not gay clubs, but I met with gay people, and I was still involved with some of the community, so to speak. And again, they brought me to the same places where I was not happy. I look at happiness as sort of a thermostat on how things are going. If you are happy, that means you're probably doing healthy things, right? You're feeding I really believe strongly in the three, you know, the mind, body, spirit. I really believe in those things, and you have to feed them and you have to keep them in balance. So I started questioning things, and I started realizing that these things were bad for me. The gay values and the things that were important to them were really very detrimental. And I found somebody that I'm still with today after many, many years, and he and I are on the same page when this stuff comes. I will tell you that there is, after the separation, you lose your friends who you think are friends. Honestly, I had one really close friend, and it was more through the recovery side of things than it was through the gay culture thing. But anyway, you lose everybody, and there is sort of a absence of people. And you can find your own way in that, and I did. I don't need a large number of people in my life. I need a few people that are important to me. I found more value in being out in nature with my dog and my partner and walking the woods than I ever found in a gay club. I found my version of God, and I am good with God. I pray a lot, and I feel very close to God. This is not a conversion thing. I know the enemies of the gay are Republican, Christian, white, no, not white, but Republican, Christian, anybody that might be casting judgment on them, they're the enemy. So, which is stupid. But anyway, you can't be a Christian, you can't be a Republican, you can't be gay. Those things are not going to happen in that community. If you are like me and you are saying, you know what, I want to find my own way, I still am who I am gay, that's not going to change, but I want to find other people who are like me, you can do that. There are loads of us out there, we're just a little more quiet. We don't need Provincetown, we don't need pride parades. Honestly, I found more peace through humility than I ever did through pride. There is a way out, and there is a way toward a happiness based in peace, being at peace with yourself and those around you. I always really do think that spending time in nature really will ground you a lot. You will find the true you when you see yourself through the eyes of the natural world. I'm going to leave it at that for now. I will say, like I said, I had a pretty big breakup, shall we say, on Facebook with somebody, and I came right out and said, I think the values of the gay community are trash, and I think that they hurt people, and I think that they're shallow. They're incredibly shallow. The people are shallow, and you cannot have a deviating thought. If I had a conversation, anything beyond what their limit is, I'd love to have conversations about philosophy and theology and all sorts of things. That's not going to happen. So, if you do want to chart your own way, and you really want to understand why becoming an individual is better than being part of that community, I encourage you to read some Emerson. Emerson really was a very important character, I guess, or influence in my life, because he really spoke to the individual, about the individual, how important the individual is. It is the most important thing to you is your individual, who you are, right? So I ask you to explore that. And also, reach out to me, leave comments. I'd be happy to talk to anybody about this. I know that there's a lot of people that instinctively will come out against whatever I say here, but you're better off without being in that community. As an individual, as a person, as a human being, you're better off exploring yourself and finding your way that way rather than be glamming onto this empty, shallow community that values. It's just bad for you. Thanks.